My name is Alex Carrette, and my craft of choice is scale model building. The first model I ever built was when I was 7 years old. My dad bought me a plastic model kit. I was in primary school and he just thought because I was really into planes it could be a fun sort of father-son project to work on, and things just kind of escalated from there. Model building I often see as like another extension of this fascination with aviation. If I'm reading up on a particular aeroplane, for me it helps when I'm building a model of that particular plane. So I'm doing the research on it, and I'm also building that plane. When I finished building my first model, I felt as though I'd finished a jigsaw puzzle, but a very different kind of jigsaw puzzle. It was like a 3D jigsaw puzzle that required more skills to do. And even though now that I look back, it didn't look terribly realistic, as a 7-year-old, I thought this thing was amazing. I have created an aeroplane, just a small aeroplane. Starting from when I was about 16, that's, I guess, when I took my first leap forward in terms of getting my skills enhanced with the hobby. At that point in my life, I started browsing all the websites, all the forums about model airplane building. And before I did that, I didn't really have anything to compare my own models to. I thought they were great. And then when I started seeing the photographs of the models like the real professional guys were building, I thought, I've got to up my game right now. From there, that's when I decided, I've really got to not just keep building models, but each one, my skill set has to improve. I feel that for the past 10 years or so, that's when I've been doing it more on a serious level. I then started using an airbrush for my models, started buying even more tools. So that, I guess, was my second leap forward in terms of quality. But I think in 10 years' time, even though I'm happy with the models I'm building now, I'm probably going to look back and say, that wasn't very good. The more types of planes you build, the more enhanced your skills are. Each type of plane requires a different skill set. For example, if you're building, say, a fighter plane or a bomber from World War II, getting the details right on the radial engine is a skill that you need. Whereas if you're building, say, a jet from the 1950s, getting the metal on the side of the fuselage to look properly burnt, that's a completely different skill. So I find that the more types of planes that you build models of, the broader your skills in the hobby become. I painted this model to look like an exact aircraft that took part in Operation Ochre, which is the Royal Australian Air Force's contribution to the war against the Islamic State. When researching for this model, I looked at photographs of the actual aircraft that took part in operations, so it's even got the exact payload that our aircraft in the Middle East are carrying. And I would say this is my pride and joy, mainly because it's one of the more recent ones that I've built. In fact, I haven't entirely finished it. I still have to put a couple of the landing gear doors on. But I feel that because it's so recent, this is the high point of my skills. In terms of all the models that I've built so far, this is kind of where I've gotten up to so far. This is the high point, but I'm sure that things will only get better from here. I decided to start incorporating woodwork into my model building because I felt that after a while, the medium of plastic and to a lesser extent resin became a bit monotonous. This is a new project that I'm working on. It's a 1:144 scale model of HMAS Orion, which was an Oberon class submarine. When doing woodworking, it's sort of like the reverse process of scale model building. When you buy a model in a kit, all the measurements are done for you. Whereas when you're building with wood, they're not. You have to do all the measurements yourself. It's very helpful to find a diagram of the actual submarine, and thankfully I was able to find quite a few diagrams of the Oberon class submarine. I printed out these diagrams and then I drew them up on a large bit of paper. Then what I did is I cut that piece of paper out and stuck it on one side of the wood, and that is how I got that shape. The thing that I like about model building is that it's a very kind of singular focus. I can block out everything else and just focus on this one task. And that's the kind of work that I really like doing. And I think that is why I'm attracted to this hobby so much. I learnt the hard way that they do not fly. And it wasn't just the first one, it was a couple of the first ones that I built suffered a similar flying catastrophe.